right, we'll go ahead and get started this evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Sherpy-Lencioni, and I am the Associate Director of Alumni Engagement here at Monmouth College. Welcome to Sippin with the Scots, our wine edition. We're thrilled for everyone to be here this evening with us, with our alums and our friends from all over the country. We're grateful to have Dr. Craig Vivian as a regular presenter in our virtual event world. He's been teaching education here at Monmouth College for over 20 years and is a practicing beekeeper for the past 10 years. At the age of 22, Dr. Vivian and his wife, Jessica, joined the Peace Corps. They spent the next 13 years living and traveling around the world, places like Sudan, Zimbabwe, and a couple of other places that he learned just a little bit about wine, such as Switzerland and France. Joining Dr. Vivian tonight, we have Susan Twomey. Susan attended Monmouth College, and her daughter, Claire, is an alum from the class of 2009. Susan is stepping in tonight on behalf of her sister, Sarah Walters, the owner of Market Alley Wines here in the Maple City. Before we get started today, I just have a few housekeeping items for the group. For the best viewing experience, I recommend selecting the speaker view in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. I also encourage you to interact with other attendees using the chat function. Just make sure that you are responding to all panelists and attendees. That way everybody can see what you're saying. Then after the presentation, if you have a question for Craig and Jen, our Director of Alumni Engagement, Jen Armstrong, is going to go through those questions with Craig and Susan so that they can answer them live for you. So now let's get learning about holiday wine pairings. Craig and Susan, the floor is yours.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm Craig Vivian.
And I'm Susan Twomey.
And we're here to have some fun and introduce you to a couple of things. We're going to introduce you to 5 wines and 1 port tonight, and try to help people as they kind of go into the holiday season. We've got 3 holidays we're thinking about, which would be Thanksgiving, then Christmas, and then New Year's Eve, and kind of talk about these wines in terms of their characteristics, but also their potential as wines that pair with the types of foods we usually eat for the holidays. And I think you've got some recipes and all kinds of stuff.
I do. I was saying to Craig, if any of you are interested, as I was digging through things, I used to cater as well, but I have recipes for different things that pair well with the wines that we're talking about this evening. And so if anybody wants to email me, it's easy. It's Susan2, me at gmail.com. So it's pretty simple. And I
Susan
send it to you.
To
Yeah,
me
at gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Okay, Susan to me. Oh,
See what I did
all
there?
right. Yes, I do. All right.
I'm not just.
Okay.
I got more than that.
Going on. All right. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those things going on. All right, so we're going to start with a classic, actually. This is a Riesling, and this is the Schmidt-Sohn. And this is one I will fess up to this every Tuesday night. I have a game night at the wine shop at Market Alley Wine. And my wife, Jessica, this is her every Tuesday. This is what she drinks. She loves it. I love this wine. This is a great wine. So we'll start with this. We've got a nice Riesling here, and we'll talk a little bit about the characteristics of a Riesling, just in general, maybe some little information about Riesling, you know, and then some pairings and some other things to think about when you are deciding what is it you want to serve during the holidays. So Rieslings are primarily, you think of Rieslings as coming from Germany, right? Although now you've got great New York Rieslings. You've got Rieslings from Rieslings are a white grape, of course, and they'll grow in cooler regions. There's going to be places, you know, Michigan, for example, probably has some Rieslings. I don't know if I would drink Michigan Rieslings, but definitely New York Rieslings are great, and German Rieslings are fantastic. What have you got? Anything for Rieslings, and then we can kind of look at the wine itself?
Well, for Rieslings, because they are, and this one in particular is from Germany, from the Moselle region in Germany, and it goes really well with German food, with pork and schnitzels and hard cured meats and hard cheeses and the things that typically would constitute a German diet.
Yes.
And so,
And the other thing, which is great, which you were hinting at, is that Rieslings and Gewürztraminers both, I think, are excellent with Asian foods.
yes, absolutely. One of the things about Gewürztraminers and some Sauvignon Blancs and others that are kind of traditionally a little bit on the citrusy, sweeter, semi-dry
Yep.
palate will do really well with Thai food, Chinese food, Indian food, where it helps to kind of cut through the spice, and both of the flavors from the wine and the food meld together really quite well.
Yes. Yes.
And
it-
they're hard foods to pair.
Yeah.
To pair.
To pair, I
Right.
for sure. You know, a lot of people will pair some of those foods with beers. And they do that because the beer has a little sweetness usually also, but with wines, you're right, these are, you don't usually have a lot of pairings with Asian foods, right, with wine. Because of it could be either the sweetness of those foods or the spiciness of those foods.
Right.
This is a medium sweet wine, and there's a scale from very sweet to dry. And so this is on the, if you look at it as 1, 2, 3, 4, dry, sweet, very sweet, medium sweet and very sweet. This is 3/4 of the way down that scale. This is medium sweet. If you look at the wine itself, and this is very easy to get, you can get this just about anywhere.
And
Right.
it's very reasonably priced.
Yeah. If you look at the wine, Rieslings are gonna usually have, they're somewhere in the, if you're looking at the color, straw color, they're gonna be on the, pale. We're looking at these now, and I see, it's a light straw in there. There's a little bit of a yellow in there, but you can see through it very easily. Swirling it now, if you're, I don't know, exactly who's on right now, but if you just a little bit of quick, the 30-second educational piece on drinking wines. First thing you want to do is you want to look at the wine, you want to smell the wine, you want to taste the wine. And so as we look at it, as we start, you need to swirl the wine. Swirling the wine gets it moving, gets the oxidation kind of going, gets the nose kind of, you've got the aromas coming out. So you want to swirl it. If you haven't mastered this kind of swirling in your hand in the air like this, put it on the table and just kind of make a little small circle, and you can swirl it, and then immediately, not eventually, but immediately, get your nose in there. Lots of, I get melon, I get some grapefruity, citrusy stuff. How about you?
Yep. Pretty much what you just said.
And that's going to be typical, but you know what? I mean, you're just starting. I'm thinking of Thanksgiving. You're cooking. You're there. It's 3 o'clock. You're getting things ready, or maybe it's 11 o'clock. Getting things ready for lunch, whatever. Open up a Riesling. Open up, we'll talk about Sauvignon Blanc and Chenin Blanc in a second. Open up a Riesling. And we're starting with this because it's the sweetest. Sorry. You always taste from sweetest to driest, okay? And so we're going to start with this, and it is sweet, and it's got.
But not cloying, actually.
It's not cloying. You're right. It's
Yeah.
not. No.
No.
And then I don't see a whole lot of legs.
No, I didn't see any legs. I can see when you turn the glass, I
Uh-huh.
can see the level of where the alcohol
Yep.
leaves
Yep.
are,
Yep.
but I can't see any legs.
Yeah. Which is legs usually indicate a kind of a sweetness, right? The residual sugar. Yes.
So what are legs?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, when we get to a red, and maybe the Sauvignon Blanc, we can show you, but as you swirl your glass and the wine starts to make its way back down, there'll be legs, like striations of wine that are left there. And it generally can also have something to do with alcohol content.
Yeah.
These Rieslings are lower alcohol content than some of the other wines, and red wines in particular. They range now between 13 and
15. Yes.
15%.
Yep. Yep.
These are 9.5 to
Yeah.
10, maybe 11 on the
Oh
top
yeah.
end.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm guessing this is 8.5%, 9%. It is 9.5%.
And
So, and I always thought legs are just these things that you can't see that we have kind of below us. But the other thing is that these are, in some places, France in particular, these are called tears. Do they look like teardrops going down your face, right?
I can see that.
Yeah. So
My job as a town crier is, I know that for a fact.
so we have Daniel and Aaron, Brandon and Tiffany Olette, and they're drinking the same one. They say it's delicious.
it is, I tell you, this is Rieslings. I would go straight to this one. If you give me a bunch of Rieslings, and there are other Rieslings, it might be, higher price Rieslings that I might consider, but boom. And like I said, my wife, she's had lots of Rieslings, and this is where she ends up. And I completely agree with it. I love this as a Riesling.
Yeah, and I'm not a Riesling person per se, but this is really quite nice. And I enjoy the fact that it's not overtly sweet.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I can see getting ready for dinner and you make a little charcuterie board and have a little cheese and have this, and you're not gonna be too soused by the time dinner comes
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah, 9%, there's a little bit more than a beer. You're just, you're feeling pretty good. In fact, you're enjoying cooking now while you're drinking this, right? All right, so we got that. That's what we'll start off with. I'll put this over here. Let's go to number 2 unless anybody has any questions. But so Rieslings, definitely will go with an introductory wine on a holiday. And also we'll go with many of the things. I'm sure
It goes with almost everything, chicken, turkey, seafood, anything that not, red sauce, not so much. But almost anything you'd be serving at Thanksgiving dinner or at a holiday meal, this would be perfectly suited.
Right. What do you think? We've got the Chenin and the Sauvignon. I'd go with the Chenin. But yeah,
I
okay.
would too.
All right.
Before we move on, I have one more question. This is Jen Armstrong, the voice from the back, by the way. Dawn Johnson she is drinking a clean slate Riesling tonight. And Susan, you mentioned charcuterie,
Yes.
and I just wanted to do that to a little lead in. We'll talk about it more at the end of the script, but we are doing a charcuterie making virtual class
Oh, fun.
on December 13th. So
Perfect.
mark your calendars. It's going to be really fun.
That is great.
Yeah.
That's
So
perfect.
go right ahead.
All right. So Chenin Blanc. Okay, so you start to now look with this one and the next one. So these two are going to be the two that we're going to drink next. This is the Dry Creek Chenin Blanc, and this is the Decoy Sauvignon Blanc. And both of these are going to originate in France in the Loire Valley. And so if you have any questions, I lived in France for 7 years and became very familiar with lots of French wines, probably too familiar. But and I just love Sauvignon. I became very familiar and loved Sauvignons. In France, the way I drank them they were called Twomey Blancs. And I really just have a kind of not only an appreciation, but a kind of, they resonate with me. I really like Sauvignon Blanc. Chenin Blanc is a close second there. I don't really like Chardonnays. I'm sorry about that. But I just, although I do like white Burgundies, which are a lot of Chardonnay in, of course. But the Chardonnays in the States, I just don't like, but I do like white Burgundies. So we've got Dry Creek, Chenin Blanc. This is 2020. I will say that it's very interesting. We have just called Dry Creek Vineyard, and yet their label includes a sailboat. So something strange is going on. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but established 1972. Maybe there used to be a big creek lake there they could sail in, and it's gone now. But anyway, I thought there was a little bit of some disjointedness there.
I need to dig into the history.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But you see that?
I did actually, and I did go to their website today,
Okay.
actually, to kind of trying to find some little nuggets here and there. But I don't remember, I remember 1972 and a picture of the family, but I don't remember why they named it Dry Creek.
Okay. Okay, so we've got this. Now let's look at the wine itself in terms of tasting. Again, you want to, now, your Rieslings are gonna be, like we said earlier, gonna be a little straw colored, you know, they're gonna be lighter, paler. When you start to get to your Sauvignons and your Chinons, are gonna be maybe a little, just slightly darker, not as dark as the Chablis or the, Chardonnays, but you're gonna look at this, I'm looking at this, this is definitely got more of a gold color in it. There's a little bit more hint of yellowish there. It's got a classic Chenin Sauvignon nose, which is, for me, I'm gonna say slate, grass.
Yeah, I was gonna say grass for
Yeah.
sure.
Those are your, you know, if you're doing, and I would do this if you get a chance, especially, you know, Thanksgiving's a time where you can, or Christmas, you've got a couple of days off. Really try to take some of these wines and compare them, especially with the nose and the taste, you know, and really get to become more familiar with what they have to offer. I mean, I like the, and I'll talk probably more about this with the Sauvignon Blanc, but that kind of, I think of sidewalks or after rain or rocks in a creek, that kind of slate, you know, kind of smell, and it just really brings back those kinds of images to me in terms of what's going on. And the thing about it, if you can get those, you can make those connections, then it's going to be much easier for you to appreciate, you know, the kind of the essential essence of these different wines. I mean, a Sauvignon Blanc or Chenin Blanc is going to have a certain essence, and what you then can do is say, okay, now that I've got that, I can start to build on that kind of that foundation and kind of see what's going on with it.
And the more you do kind of delve into it, the more you kind of start tasting the ground.
Yeah.
You taste where it's grown. You can taste the chalk and
Yep.
you can taste different things
Yep.
depending on the area that
Yeah.
it's grown in.
I'm just throw that out real quick. The French kind of word for that, which is a really hard word to pronounce, and even I you know, I was in France for a long time. I still don't like saying this word, but it's terroir,
Yeah.
and it means earth, the ground. It's the terroir is the what's given to the wine through the ground that it's grown in, right? Is it sandy loam? Is it you know, rich soil? What is it? What's it, gravel? You know, and so the French are very big on this idea of terroir is, and why France likes it so much is they're saying our soil is going to give a piece of identity to this wine that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Right, and it does.
Yeah, it definitely does, yeah.
Yeah.
So just from the audience, Cassie Day from class of 1995 couldn't find that particular Chenin Blanc, but she is drinking Spire Seaward from the coast of South Africa.
Oh,
And she
wow.
says it's very tasty.
Okay, that's cool. Just a quick little thing to notice, to note, is that both Sauvignon and Chenin Blancs, originally when they were first being exported, one of the main places they went to was South Africa. South Africa has a huge wine industry. I used to live in Zimbabwe, which is borders South Africa, and I would never drink Zimbabwean wines. I guarantee you that. Don't waste your time on those. But the South African wines were imported, and they were excellent. As South Africa is, you've got certain places which are just perfect for wine. South
Right.
Africa is one of those.
Yeah, and I do love when you look at the world map as you go around to see in other parts of the world who has the same kind of climate,
Exactly.
you know, and
Yep.
then you can see what kind of grapes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do well
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
And I love when you all are talking about the color as well. And like, there's that white background
Mhm.
behind you. So when you hold it up there, you can kind of really see,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
the differences, which
Yes.
is nice.
Yeah.
So,
And if you're tasting at home and you want to do this, just get a piece of white paper I always do this whenever I'm teaching a wine course, or whatever, and you just, that's perfect. You just hold the wine over like this. You know, you probably saw me do this earlier, but you just hold it over. You're looking at the wine through that at the white paper, so it's a neutral background, and you can kind of start to discern the different aspects or characteristics in terms of color with that wine. Okay, well, let's look and see what this knows and what we got here. I'm excited.
I know I've got something I can't quite put my finger on, but I'm almost there.
Okay. Wow, you know what? Well, I will tell you this. And now, all of you out there, it is already an established fact that women are much better at.
Everything?
I'll give you that.
Thanks.
But much better in terms of being a sommelier. Women, their olfactory senses are much more discerning than men. So what you're seeing now is, in terms of sommelier, in terms of becoming master tasters, wine tasters, women are starting to dominate that field because they're much better at being able to kind of pull apart the wine itself and find it. So I will be honest with you, I'm not getting anything out of the nose here. I'm drawing a 0.
There's a slight
Oh,
dustiness.
okay. And now that you say that, I get maybe a very slight slate or grass, but
There's a
very
little bit of
slight.
that, it's an amalgamation really of melon and pineapple and something else maybe.
All right, yeah.
That's not one or the other. It's
Mhm.
kind of like if they were
Yeah,
had babies.
right. A
I
pine
kind of-
melon,
but
a pine
very
melon.
subtle. It's, yeah. And melon apple.
So I like it. It's nice. This is nice. This is nice. It's very, this is not, I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's a simple wine, meaning
Mhm.
it just really has one thing to offer you, and I like what it offers. Not all wines, and I'm very much you drink what you like, but I'm not a snob in terms of wine. I like one-dimensional wines. I like two-dimensional wine. I like anything, because sometimes I just want to quaff. I just want
I
to.
know, once it gets to the fourth dimension.
That's right. I'll build a model what this wine looks like.
There you go.
That's too
I
funny.
do think that it has a softness in your mouth.
Mhm.
It doesn't have a long finish,
You're
you know,
exactly.
but
you're
it
exactly
does,
right.
but it does have a softness in the feel as you're drinking it.
Yeah.
Which I kind of enjoy.
Yeah, she's completely right. This is a very quick finish. Which means, if you don't know what that means, your finish is once you drink it. So if we're gonna smell it, and there's a little bit, there was a few, I saw a little bit of legs,
I
yeah.
see some legs on yours. Mine aren't very leggy.
So when you're drinking it, you wanna kind of first anticipate it by smelling it. You wanna take a quick, drink. Swash it around a little bit in your mouth, try to get, the sugar, try to get the acidity, etc. And then when you do that and swallow it, how long does this taste last on your palate, on your tongue? And that's called the finish. And this, you're right, this doesn't have a long finish. It kind of hits you, you got a little bit of sugar, you got a little bit of melon or pineapple, and then it's gone. Like right now, it's already gone.
Right. Yeah, now I can just tell that I had something wet.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But I like that sometimes. Sometimes you don't need to, especially if I'm cooking or something, I just want to have something, here's a nice taste, boom, boom, boom. I like something like this a lot.
And I will say this, I love fresh oysters.
I bet you this would be great.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be
I mean,
fantastic.
it's hard to get them around here.
Yeah.
But whenever I go anywhere, I just went to Florida recently and ate, I don't know how many dozens of oysters. So I was like, can we go to the oyster place again? My sister, who does not like them,
Oh,
wasn't
really?
happy about it, but she indulged me.
That's funny. Yeah. No, you're right. This would be great with seafood, all kinds of seafood. All right, and Chenin Blanc again comes from I think I said this earlier, but the Noir Valley in France. You've got a lot of those Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc. You got a lot of these coming from that area, and these are used both in the Noir, but they're also used. These would also be used in as part of some of the Bordeaux's, either white Bordeaux's.
Right, because there's a high acidity level in Chenin Blanc, and so really they are this grape is used for sparkling wines.
Yep.
All the way to really, really sweet dessert wines, depending on how the winemaker decides to go, but because it has high acidity,
Yeah, it can
make
it
a
can-
range
yeah.
of different.
be very useful in many ways, right? Something that Susan just said that I also want to just point out, which this is a whole different lecture, a whole different tasting, but in France, I'll just talk about France, but in France in particular, many of their wines are blends. And in the States, although there are some, you've got, Meritages and stuff like that, but in the States, we tend to go by we identify wines by their varietal. So you buy a Cabernet Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, or you buy a Merlot, or you buy a Zinfandel. You don't do that in France. In France, you buy a region. You buy a Bordeaux, or you buy a Burgundy, right? And if you're buying those, what you've got usually, except for Burgundy, red Burgundy is probably going to be 99% of the time going to be a Pinot Noir, and then it'll be a Beaujolais grape. But a lot of your Bordeaux's will be blends of things, and so you don't know what's in there exactly. But so just so you know that in France, these are used to great effect by being blended into other things. In the States, we tend, like this will be, it probably is not 100% Chenin Blanc. It might be, but it's probably not. I don't know. Did you find anything when you were looking at it? For this one?
No, you mean
Okay.
in terms of,
Is it a, because in California, the rules are, if
Oh.
it's gonna be 75%, if you call it Chenin Blanc, it has to be at least 75%.
no, I didn't see any
Okay.
rules for
Okay.
France for that. I mean, they have lots of rules for lots of things.
Yeah, okay,
With their appellations. but,
yeah. No, nothing like,
You
okay.
know,
So this could be 100% Chenin Blanc, it could be 75, or it could be 80%, we don't know. This one for sure I know is a blend, and we'll talk about that later. I know, well, not later, next.
okay.
All right, so I like this. But it's a simple wine.
It is a simple wine, but it has its place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
honestly, I can
does.
just, if I could get some oysters right now, Jen, can you hook me up?
Yes. Yes, we actually have them in the fridge.
There you
That'll be
go.
good.
All right, any questions? No? All right, let's do next. Next we've got,
Ask who the guy is that goes to jail. Give a prize.
yes, right. I'm going through the alphabet trying to
I
get there.
know, we were struggling for a name later. I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
if anybody knows, yeah, let us know. The name is this, in the old Andy Griffith shows, what was the name of the guy who was always in jail all the time?
Who the town
The
drunk.
drunk.
I don't remember.
We were trying to get it before we came on. 'cause-
Maybe somebody in the audience knows.
I hope they do. I mean,
Otis.
Otis.
Michelle-
Otis.
And Daniel Walker, Michelle Moy, Daniel
Thank you,
Walker. have it.
Because you know what, I was gonna have to Google it when I got home.
Otis,
It's been
oh
driving
my
me
gosh.
crazy.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not even sure why that came up, but it
Yeah.
did, and so
It's all good.
All right, I still don't know, what was the name of the sheriff in that town?
Andy
Man.
Oh.
and Barney had the bullet in his pocket.
All right. So now we've got the decoy, so a Sauvignon Blanc, with a duck on it, of course, that makes sense, a decoy duck. And so Sauvignon Blanc, now, when we start to talk about wines, there are certain wines that are considered to be the kind of premier varietals, okay? You've got Cabernet Sauvignon, you've got Pinot Noir, you've got Chardonnay. Sauvignon Blanc is in that group. And these are kind of course, this all originated in France, so you've got kind of the royalty of varietals. And by varietal, I mean a specific grape. Sauvignon Blanc, although it is, again, it's called in France, you cannot find a Sauvignon Blanc in France. Fumé Blanc, right? You can find a Fumé, but not a Sauvignon. And but it is the Sauvignon. It's just you just don't call it that. And this is probably, I would say, for me personally, this was a discovery I made when living in France. I fell in love with this with Sauvignon, with Fumés, because I'd never had anything like this before. This is for me the kind of the slate, the grass, you know, all of those characteristics that this has. To me, I just never had in a wine before, and to me, I fell in love with this when I was in France. So you've got it's going to have a similar Chenin Blanc and Sauvignon are similar, right?
It's pale.
Yeah. It's got a, for me, much stronger nose. This goes right into the, right, this, I can already, I smell this, I'm like, okay, I know exactly where I'm at.
Yep, the granite around the
Yep,
corner.
granite, yep, granite around the corner, yep. Yep, you got that, there's a term called petrichor, and it's a nice term, it's a kind of fun word, petrichor, and it means that kind of smell after a rain. What, you know, right, you know, you're walking down in the sidewalk, the water, it's raining, and it hits and it dries up, and you smell that kind of, that smell, that is called petrichor, and that's one of the things I always associate with Sauvignon Blancs. We've got.
It looks very thin.
It's not heavy, although this one, you probably can't see it now, especially with all my finger marks on it. I was trying really hard not to touch the cup part of it, but there are legs on this.
Yeah, there are, definitely.
Which will be easier to show you with reds.
Yeah.
But it is a light tasting, you know, it doesn't have a huge finish on it.
Correct.
But it has flavor.
Yeah. This is good. I like this. This is very good. Now this is, I know for a fact, this is 25% Semillon. And Semillon, for those, it's Semillon. But Semillon, for those who, there's a region in France, there's a town in France called Saint-Emilion. And this is a kind of contraction of that, because that's where this grape was originally kind of grown.
Well, and fun fact that I learned today, you probably already know this, because frankly, I think he knows probably everything. It's a little intimidating. But Sauvignon Blanc and Cab Franc are the parents to Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes, okay.
I did not know that. So this is
very
old.
Cool.
This is old.
It is.
You know, and Cab Franc, and I didn't realize that they married them together. You know, did the.
Someone needs to write a song about that.
Yeah, they should, and then you should sing it.
Yep. Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon had a baby.
So we're gonna get singing.
Yeah.
Daniel and Aaron, Brandon. Oh, I'm losing all my names, but they say it tastes better than it smells.
Yes, I didn't see that.
And I agree with that. And what I think what people aren't used to with many wines is, so let me say it this way. A lot of wines, especially the wines we get in the States, they are fruit front. Okay, what you're doing when you're smelling it, you are the way the wines are made is to put the fruit up front, and that's what you want. You want to kind of hit that strawberry or that, you know, the
and I can taste a little bit of not rotten strawberry exactly, but there is a, you know, like on its last leg strawberry.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Yeah. Yep.
In here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I believe that. I didn't quite get that because my nose, of course, I'm a man. I'm not able to get those things. But
he has to throw me a bone once in a while.
So Kathy Plath from the class of 77 said, we are drinking the Decoy, a very nice, light, happy hour wine.
Yes.
It is good. And you know, this is one of the wines that you can have with citrusy things. Because it's hard to have citrusy things with wine.
Yep.
because they fight each other. But a Sauvignon Blanc is something that you can actually pair nicely
Yep.
with those sorts of dishes.
Are you gonna have, you have at least one or two recipes that?
I do have
Sauvignon Blancs?
I
Okay,
do.
good.
I mean, I'm not gonna list them out now, but if
Yeah.
you email me,
Okay, perfect.
I would be more than happy.
And if you have links or anything, like
Yeah.
we can send it out in
Yeah.
an email
Yeah.
to everybody who
Yeah, 'cause
attended as
I'm
well.
just, I mean, I'm retired and it's COVID, so I've got time.
Good. Well, that's not like me, I'm just
That's
tired.
very nice.
So
Okay.
I want to travel, but not yet.
So anyway, I would say for me, I always look at Sauvignon Blancs as a way to kind of get something you're not get from any other wine.
Mhm.
And that is that slate, that grass, that lemony grass. There's just a whole lot of things that make this, and I think it's something you need to, it's maybe what the person was saying was this, I'm not sure, but for me, it's not an immediate there's not an immediate attraction. It's something you need to work a little bit towards.
Yeah, because I still struggle. I like Sauvignon Blanc, but there are many that I just can't handle.
Mhm.
I mean, no
Yeah.
offense to Kim Crawford, but my lord. I mean, I might as well just eat and be like, hey, I mean, I can't do it, but other people love it.
Yeah.
And I just, and they do say, and I don't really know, I haven't done the science on this, but somewhere in my life I read that our taste buds, people have, I forget how many, but a lot of taste buds. And there are basically two types. And some people like really sweet things, and some people like drier things. And it depends on the makeup of your tongue
Gotcha.
as to which one is going to be your preference. And so when you're going someplace and you're feeling like you're not snobby enough, to drink their wine, don't worry, because it's just a matter of, honestly, some of your physiology.
Yeah.
And so there's not, like, if you like a really sweet wine, don't worry or feel badly that you're not sophisticated enough yet to drink something dry and red and, makes you.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. And I think, but the thing I would kind of push people to try to do is to find out what you like, gauge yourself, right? Kind of put yourself, okay, I really like this. I don't like these yet. And then, and you can do this online or whatever. You buy yourself a little book. You can start to figure out how to step by step move in a certain direction. And start to appreciate the things that other wines offer. And that's like this one. It's easy. This is the Riesling is an easy wine to like, right? It's sweet. We like sweet. I mean, naturally, we've evolved to sweet is good. So that's an easy one to appreciate. I would be very surprised to find someone who doesn't like this. This is a few steps further down the path, and it's like music, right? When I was 9 or 12, I loved Yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy, right? I love that song. I don't like that so much now. I prefer maybe, Bach or something.
Thanks for the earworm.
But we just move as we, that's part of kind of growing. It's just, you push yourself and you try something and what can I appreciate from this? And you can still find sweet in here.
Yeah,
there's
I would say there's still, I would call this demi-sec.
Yeah, I would too. Yes, you're right. It is. So this is still on that journey. And so anyway, I love, this is probably of whites, this is my favorite white, Sauvignon Blanc. What's yours?
Molly,
Of whites?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to tell you.
Chardonnay? Yeah, that's all right.
But not overly oaked. Although I do like Lombauer, which is kind of oaky.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I do. If there's enough F to it. That it grabs me.
It does it for you.
It does it for me.
That's good. Yes.
So Molly Herod, class of 07, says that her mom loves the sweet Riesling. That's her go-to wine.
All right.
So I have a question. Based on where I've lived, I've kind of changed my wine preference.
Okay.
And is that true? So I went to grad school in Wisconsin, love reds.
Okay.
Moved to South Florida, couldn't drink reds. Love
Mm.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay, because of the
Moved
heat,
back
yes.
here, kind of got into Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Just don't
Yeah.
really care for the Sauvignon Blanc. So like, I feel like my taste has
Yeah.
gone maybe backwards. I don't know.
Not backwards, I would
No,
say
just-
you've gone to, you've kind of gone to the region you're at and
Right.
what
Yeah,
gets you.
I think that's too, I mean, that to Craig's point is, it's hot in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, you want something refreshing,
Mhm.
you know? And so if you have a nice light crisp white wine, then it tastes good,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
The only reason I don't drink beer is because it makes me too full.
Mhm.
But, you know, but I can,
Yeah.
I can Otis my way through white wine.
Otis.
Yeah. And again, in the summertime, hot summertime, I'm not drinking a Cabernet that often.
Mhm.
I'm drinking a Riesling, drinking a Gewürztraminer, I'm drinking a Sauvignon Blanc. Those are much easier. And they fulfill a purpose. The purpose is you want something light, you want something that's got some sweetness or some tartness to it, right? You know, think of what are you drinking if you're not drinking wine and some are drinking lemonade.
Mhm.
These have some of those same qualities,
Mhm.
but just at a more sophisticated level.
And I just always wondered, do your taste buds change with age? Or is it region for
I
me?
think
You know,
probably,
a little
you know,
of both.
lots
maybe.
of things seem to change with age.
Mhm.
So
hearing- what?
So I think that probably there is
Yeah.
some merit in that.
Yeah. I do know that as you get older, your basic taste buds kind of drop. So for example, as you older senior citizens much more, they prefer sweet things or spicy things because they've lost the ability to kind of differentiate in a nuanced way certain flavors. So they want the things that really hit you hard, like spice or sugar.
Mhm.
So. And not that not that from experience, I'm not that old yet, but I do like just eating sugar out of the. You know,
Not sure what you're saying, Craig, because I am. Although I do, at home, I actually drink red wine more than white.
Yeah.
When I go out, I get busy talking and with my hands and pretty soon I knock my wine over on the side. So I prefer to drink white when I go out because it just saves on the cleaning bills.
Cleaning bills for other people. That's right. That's too funny. Okay, and now we've got a Pinot Noir. I'll tell maybe. Oh gosh, I don't know if I should tell this. Maybe I'll try. It's slightly risque, but we have a mature audience here. It's a joke. It's a joke that one of the when I was in France, one of the chateau owners that I had that I met said this. He said, and he was of course now in France. I lived in Geneva and then moved right over the border to the eastern border of France. Okay, which is right next to.
Region, Alsace?
No. It was
Sauvignon?
actually no. I mean, it was really right next to Geneva. So it was
I'll have to get my map.
Chamonix, that area, right of France, right in that area, but it's just right there. But the wine regions around there is Burgundy. It's all around Burgundy and the Côte de Rhône down a little bit further, which is Côte de Rhône's one of my favorites. But he said, well, let me tell you, Craig, all wines have what we call Pinot in them. And for those of you who don't know Freud, that probably won't make any sense. But anyway, if you don't, just look up Freud and you'll get the joke. But it was this idea that because Pinot is a wine that really is fussy. I mean, and when we lived in France, oh my gosh, that's all I went for was Pinots. Now, luckily, my wife was working for the United Nations, so we had some money. And we could get some good Pinots, but it's the most finicky grape, I think, the varietal of all the grapes that I've ever that I know. And so when it works, it's heavenly, but many times it doesn't work, and so that's why it's it's got that reputation.
So would a Chinon be considered a Pinot?
No, that would be down in the Loire area.
Yeah. So it Okay,
Yeah, it would not be
So
a
it'd have
Burgundy,
to-
you mean a
it-
Burgundy, yeah, it would not be in the Burgundy
Okay.
region, yeah. The only things in Burgundy are gonna be Pinots and Beaujolais.
Okay.
The grape for Beaujolais is called Gamay, the Gamay
Right.
grape. And then the Pinot Noir grape are the only two grapes that are allowed in the Burgundy region.
okay.
And so if you, in Beaujolais, we're not gonna talk about Beaujolais, but, and actually Beaujolais for Thanksgiving would be fantastic.
Yeah,
If you could find a Beaujolais, oh my gosh, those are fantastic wines.
What's the date they're released again?
Oh gosh.
Beaujolais? Is it like November
yeah, they're
15th?
usually in November.
Yeah, the first week in
And
November, maybe
sometimes,
something like that.
sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're
They're
just
awful, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I've had them.
I
Yeah.
mean,
yes. But if you get a good year, it's
Yeah.
great, and and if you get one, I would probably stop there and just end on a high note.
Question. From Cynthia. Excuse me. Cynthia Hart, she's
Mhm.
class of 1976.
All right,
She has a question. What do you know about California wines and any that you like?
ooh, yeah. Um, I like lots of them, actually. I tend to like cabs. And actually Zinfandels and Merlots,
I'm a Zin person, I love Zins. And they only come out of Zin itself, like you said, Primitivo, out of
Right.
Italy, which is the,
it is equivalent, this is Zinfandel,
It
it's just
is.
another name for it.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's where the Zinfandel grape actually comes from, originally is Italy. But I love Zinfandels.
yeah, I do too. I like hefty
Mhm.
wines. I like a lot of tannin. It's not for
Yep.
everybody, but it is for me. And I like it when, I put my glass up and the whole thing just looks like,
Yeah.
a Jackson Pollock painting that's
Yeah.
dripped down to the bottom of the glass. And so, those are, and there's lots of vineyards that I really like. Stag's Leap, it makes a particularly good Petit Syrah.
Okay.
Actually, but they're, I like their wines. There are a lot of, oh shoot, what's the guy's name that does The Prisoner, 8 years in the
Oh,
desert?
I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name either, but his wines, I'll think of it in a minute. Sarah, if you're out there, text me. Tell me, because it's an easy name and I just can't think of it. But there are a lot of really good California wines out there. And they have taken
Dave Finney.
Dave Finney,
Mhm.
Dave,
Phinney. Is that
Oh,
right?
I know that name. I didn't know that was him, but I do know the name Finney, Phin. Yeah, I do know that name in terms of,
yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
know.
I don't know, yeah, give me 1 second, because that's familiar, but that's not the name
That's not
I'm
the name.
thinking of.
Okay.
But there are, if for specific vineyards, there are Ridge, which is actually
Oh my gosh.
one of the wines that we have here tonight.
Yeah,
I have a very good friend that used to live in Cupertino, and so I would go to visit her, and they were like 2-minute walk from her
Yeah.
house. And so we would go sit down there, and they make
you cannot
tremendous,
go wrong with Ridge.
tremendous wines.
Everything out of Ridge is great.
But
That's
I
fantastic.
don't know, I can go home and make a list of my 20 favorite vineyards,
Yeah.
and then I'll email that to you too.
What you should do, we should have which we did a long time ago, probably 2005, maybe 2006. We should replicate this. We did we had alums get on a train and they all went over to California on the train. And we talked about, in theory, well, we didn't actually do this. They did go to California. The theory was that we were going to talk about wine and stuff on the train. And when we got to California, we were going to do the wine tasting. I think they did some of the wine tasting, but we didn't do the kind of prep work on the train. That would be kind of cool. Because California is a fantastic environment for wine.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's Orange Swift
Swift.
is the name.
There you go.
Orange
Okay.
Swift is the name I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But there's, the Rocchioli. silver oak.
Mhm.
I mean, there are just, Twomey. It's not our relation, although I'm still digging and hoping that I can figure that out, but he's pretty convinced that we're not related. I'm not so
Darn it.
sure. But California makes some really lovely, lovely wines. They've done a good job and kind of proved France wrong.
Yes, well, you've got the famous, the contest, right, between the French and the, if you don't know this, in the 70s, and there's a great movie, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's a great movie about this. In the 70s, a wine dealer out of Britain, out of England, had come over and tasted some American wines and said, oh my gosh, these are fantastic. So he decided to do a contest or a contest, and he said, look, we're going to pit French wines, who French thought they had ruled wine for so long that they were the best, with these California wines, and we'll see what happens. And what happened in that was the American wines won hands down, blind tasting, French judges, and it was called The Judgment of Paris. The name of the movie is The Judgment of Paris, right? The Judgment of Paris, which if you don't know what the Judgment of Paris is the idea of Paris in the Greek mythology. He's trying to figure out who's the best person to marry, and he gets there's a contest, right? And so he gets to choose between the three women who are the three goddesses here put in front of him. But Judgment of Paris here, it was in Paris where this was taking place, and the American wines won hands down, and it knocked the French for a curve because they didn't know what had just happened.
Right.
They just
I'm
fallen,
sure.
and the American, that's how we started that's how we got started in the 70s. That's how California became one of the premier wine regions. So very cool.
So Cynthia, who asked about the California wines, also asked Coppola.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Francis. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I have another one. Kathy Plath says she's currently sipping the Underwood. I think it's a little more robust than the Pinot Noir. It tastes a little smoky with cinnamon accents, very enticing.
All right.
Interestingly, I love the Underwood, but my daughter and husband don't.
Oh no,
That's more for you, dear.
that's right.
Absolutely.
That's how Otis looks
That's
at it.
right. Hello, Andy. Get me a Pinot in here. We got some good legs on this thing. Lots of legs on this. Okay, so
Yeah.
Pinot. What do we have a Pinot? Pinot's going to be tart. You're going to have some. I will guess. I will say I haven't tasted this yet, but some strawberry, some raspberry, maybe lighter red fruits. Right. You're not going to get like a deep dark
Right.
cherry or something, but you'll get. You might sometimes, but you'll get these lighter fruits. And there's a. I can't explain it. There is, well, and I'm saying this now because out loud, because as I put my nose in here, and not to kind of, I'm not being, I'm not bragging and trying to be say I know a lot, because I don't, but I will tell you this, this has a authentic Pinot nose.
Mhm.
This is an authentic, many of the wines that I have tasted from Oregon, from California, that claim to be Pinot grapes. There is and like I said, when
There's
I
a
was,
big range.
there is a big range, but there is something that is, I think, a kind of essential characteristic of a Pinot nose,
Mhm.
and this has got it.
How do you feel about wines from the Willamette?
I like them. I like them. It's a different. It's like the Shiraz from Australia for the Syrah.
Right,
It's a different. It comes up with something different, which I like.
right.
But I'm used to the Syrah from Côte d'Ivoire. I'm used to the Pinot from Burgundy.
Mhm.
Those are my first kind of introductions when I lived there, and this has got that. I mean, a lot of times I'll get a Pinot out of Oregon, and they're great, but they're a softer kind of Pinot, and this has just got this is from Willamette.
I don't think it is, actually. I'm
okay.
not sure. I think it's from Oregon, but I don't
Okay,
know. if
yeah,
it's
it is from
Wilmette.
Oregon, I see that. But this has got that nose, if you are drinking that and you smell that. And I don't know how to describe it, I'm not good enough at this to describe it, but whatever that nose is.
Well, they say forest floor.
You know what? That might be it. It's
There
something.
he is, smelling the sidewalks again.
There's something there that this is a true, for me, authentic Pinot olfactory kind of sensation. And I would say, because I've had Pinots, I used to drive down to the chateaus and buy from the chateaus in France, the Pinots that I wanted. And those were great Pinots. This has definitely got that nose.
Well, Brandon Ouellette's group, there's 4 of them. They say 3/4 of them love the Underwood. And Kathy Plass agreed with you, Susan, and said, absolutely, I will have the bottle to myself.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, I like this, it does something different in the mouth. There's a little bit something different in the mouth than what I was expecting.
Right.
But it's still got a great nose and I still like it, but it's just, there's something, when you get a classic Pinot. Now I'm talking about in France, I was spending $150 a bottle. But this is getting, this is in that, it's got something, I don't know how much this was.
I was just gonna put because I can't do anything without my glasses.
Yeah.
This one's 16,
16.
which is like
Yeah.
unheard of for a
Yeah,
Pinot.
Pinot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And I agree with you. The nose on this, I like. I go back to my statement earlier with the finish.
Yeah. It's
Because
light.
it's got a very light
Yeah,
finish to it.
exactly. Does.
Which is, actually what people want sometimes with a Pinot,
Yeah.
because Pinots can make or break a meal, and you can serve a Pinot with almost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend like a barbecue or something particularly spicy. But because there's also a wide range of Pinots, there's some that are pretty heavy, there are some that are kind of medium, there are some that are lighter. So you have to kind of experiment around too with what your taste preferences are and how you pair it with food. But a Pinot, if you go into a restaurant, everybody wants fish,
Yeah.
and you want a steak, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It really is an equalizer
Yeah.
in terms of how you can pair with food,
Nice.
which is nice.
And I'm guessing this would go really well with white meats, right? To ham, chicken, right?
Anything,
Turkey.
Shrimp.
yeah, shellfish, yeah, anything, yeah.
No, that's good. And I have to say, just when she was talking, I just had one more sip real quick before she started talking. And I would say, in the finish on this, I mean, it's still light, but I am getting, this has got an authentic, if you want to know what a Pinot out of France tastes like, this is pretty good. I mean, this is pretty representative. I like this. A lot of Pinots that I have gotten before, especially out of California, and I'm trying to be nice about this, but a lot of California Pinots are doing something different with the Pinot than what the Pinot is. They are transforming it into something else, which is not bad, but for me, it's not
To make it heftier, do you think?
to make it heftier.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a Pinot, because Pinot has got to be somewhat, it hints at things, it's hard to grasp. And if you just, unlike a Zinfandel or a Cabernet, which is like, boom, this is what I am. Pinots are not like that. And so California is, I think, sometimes tries to say, okay, let's go ahead and put this in that category of, let's really define this
right,
in a heavy way.
right.
And it loses a lot of that Pinot characteristic. And I would say this has got 80% of this. You want to know what a Pinot from France tastes like, a Burgundy? Actually, I would try this. And I think you're getting very close to what a Pinot in France would taste like. I like it. It's going to be, of course, if you look at the color, it's going to be very, very light. You would know this if you were tasting reds. This would be the only grape besides a Gamay that would have this kind of light color. So you would immediately be able to tell that this was a Gamay or a Pinot in terms of a red. And I'm gonna have another glass of this one.
I think you should.
I like this. I like it.
think
It's growing on
take
me.
a sip. Before
Okay.
we move on,
That's right.
I'm sorry I got my deputy dog laugh going on. My sisters used to tease me, but I realize now when I'm sitting here that I'm like, thank you.
Okay, and the last one as we go forward, if there's any questions, please ask.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I've only seen it happen once. I was in the Czech Republic. We ordered a bottle of wine at a nice restaurant and they sent it back. It was bad. And the cork was soaked through.
Mhm.
Like, does that happen often? How does that happen? Do you know?
Well,
It would-
usually it depends on how it's handled, the bottle. I mean, it could be that it was someplace where it's kind of hot and it was standing up, or there's a it's called the ullage, this area between the cork and the wine where there's just a little bit of air in there.
Mhm.
And if you see that the ullage is too low, that means oxygen has gotten in there, air has gotten in there, and it'll
Yeah.
turn the wine.
Mm.
And usually if the cork is really, really wet all the way through, that means that the wine has been seeping out
Yeah.
because it's, it's found that path.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, just like water, it always finds its way if
Yep.
it can,
Mhm.
and it'll destroy things,
Mhm.
including wine. And so, yeah, it happens, and it
Mhm.
happens. I would say all the time, but enough that if you get a bottle of wine somewhere, just say, I'm sorry, I think this is turned.
Mhm.
I've done it with my poor sister more than once. I'm like, "Oh, I don't think this isn't
Yeah.
right." And then she'll take a sip and she'll go, no, it's not. And sometimes it's subtle because it's maybe just started to turn, but
Mhm.
it'll have kind of a sourness
Mhm.
Yeah.
or a vinegar sort of, aroma to it. Not in that won't make your eyes water, but it's got that.
Mhm.
It's got something that's off,
Yeah.
and it happens, and any reputable place would replace it.
Yeah. And do you know if that vinegar smell or that chemically smell,
Mhm.
sometimes it will happen if I have a bottle that's open too long,
Right.
right? And so is there any standards, do you know of, or do you just do the smell test? Because sometimes I think, oh, I have a guest. I've had
Well,
this red open, do I serve
The
it or
smell
not?
test usually is a pretty good one,
Uh-huh.
but then you could do what my dad does.
Oh, yes.
Because
The water bottle. Mm-hmm.
my dad, bless his heart, he's 98, love him to pieces, and he can hopefully outlive all of us, but he takes water bottles that he dumps out, he doesn't
Mhm.
drink from them, and plastic ones, and then he pours the wine in, and that he's got left over, and then he squeezes the bottle until the wine comes to the very top of the opening, and then he caps it.
So you get all the oxygen out.
And it can stay like that
Yeah.
for a very long
Yeah.
time.
I should do that.
Yeah.
I've had
No.
his water bottle wine.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's a fantastic idea.
And it costs you only a bottle of water,
Right.
and he puts the water in a glass and drinks it. So,
Yeah,
you're still getting value for your money.
right.
But I think it's brilliant because people sell all these things where you can
Wine
take the air
back
out,
and-
and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff, which is nice and they're pretty. I have some of them, but he devised this years ago. And because I'm very fortunate. My dad has a wine cellar and is quite generous and studies it all the time. So he's got loads of information but this is what he came up with, which I would encourage all of you
Yeah.
to. You can go and get the little 8-ounce, waters, you can get the 12-ounce ones, and you can portion out your wine, especially, I live by myself.
Yeah.
And so if I want to open a bottle of wine and not finish it, which is rare, but it has happened. I might rummage around and
You
find
just
a water
dropped in
bottle
my
somewhere.
estimation.
It happens sometimes, I get tired, I don't know.
All right, all right, I'll give you that.
But it's a brilliant
Yeah,
solution,
no, it is.
and
And he showed me that one time. I went over to his house. He showed me that and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it
Pretty
is.
cool.
Sometimes he throws them in the refrigerator. What he usually does is throw them in the refrigerator when he's poured out all the wine, so that if there's any residual wine in there, it stays kind of okay, because
Yeah.
he's reached the age now where he's proprietarily blending.
Okay,
You know.
okay, yep. And that's something to think about is blending wines. But the only thing I'll throw out there with that, I mean, the Twomey method of doing that is, I think, fantastic. I would say if you're gonna open a bottle and you don't have that as a way to kind of keep the wine, I would probably say open the bottle and try to finish it in the next 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. And you can stick it in the fridge,
Yeah.
because that'll help too.
Yeah.
Even a red?
Oh, yeah.
And then just bring it back to
Yeah.
room temperature.
Yeah.
My dad even has like a 7-second, microwave thing,
Oh, cool.
to bring it back to the right
Okay.
temperature.
Yeah.
I think
very
it's
cool.
7 seconds. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 7 seconds.
Very cool.
Okay, so Andy Kerr, who is, I always want to think he's 73. He's 73, class of 73. He is also president of the alumni board.
Oh, good.
And he says he loves the decoy.
Good.
Typically not enough left over to use the water bottle trick.
Well,
We understand that,
That's
Andy.
my problem.
Daniel Walker, who is a business professor here, has a question. What are the ideal climate geographic conditions for winemaking? Number one. And two, are there many wines produced in South or East Asia? Any recommendations of something to try?
Can I take a shot at this?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
okay.
And Andy, just to finish, he also says we use the pump method with the unused wine.
Okay, good. Yeah, and Vino Vac, or whatever those are called, those work as well. I would say
Oh,
in
shoot.
terms of,
I'm sorry, I got the Daniels mixed up. Let me just say. Daniel Walker is class of 2008.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
That's okay, Daniel. I thought you looked younger.
Sorry, Daniel.
so I might ask you to kind of refresh,
Sure.
but I've got the one thing I'll talk about is the climates. Yeah, climate east. So in terms of Asian wines, China is trying to make kind of get into the market. They're so far have not been successful, and I just don't know. That's something that we're gonna have to see what happens, right? China's got very different climates. I've been in China. I traveled in China for about 4 or 5 months when back in the 80s, and it's got regions that I could see could be productive for wine. But at that time, of course, China was not growing wine in the 80s. They were doing other things. So they're starting to get into that market. They definitely want to get into that market because that's a lucrative market. So I don't know in terms of that. I don't know if you know anything about that. I just don't know anything about it in terms of what they're doing. I know they're trying to do it.
In Asia?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would say, sake
Yeah.
and whiskey.
Yeah.
Seem
Right.
to be
Mhm.
Yeah.
their
go-tos.
and what they are working on.
Yeah. And that also has to do with what the climate, so sake from rice, grapes are going to need a different climate, probably, right, than what they've got to offer. So, but who knows? Time will tell. And what was the other question? The other was
What's best climate?
best
for-
climate. Well, it depends on what kind of grape you want to grow. If you want to grow a white grape, if you want to grow a Riesling, who does Riesling best? Germany, right? New York. So you're gonna have to be in a cold climate or cold region, right? If you want to do Cabernet, you're gonna be in France. You're gonna be in Australia. I mean, you're gonna be in warmer climates. So it just depends on
California,
California. Yeah. You're gonna look and you're gonna see. Go to the equator,
Right.
and then you go up and down, and as you go up and down and from the equator, north and south, you're going to start to see, if you look at the great areas of wine production, you're going to see that there's a very easy and strict kind of rule about where the grapes do best. And it's going to be, as you get closer to the poles, you're going to do better with white, and as you get closer to the equator, you're going to do much better with reds.
And when I was reading today about some of the Rieslings and the wines from Germany, because it's colder
Mhm.
there, and they use a lot of slate
Yes,
to actually like put the grapes on
Yeah.
or under them so that it'll reflect the light and the
Yeah.
heat, because it's so cold.
right.
And even, not this particular Riesling, but another one I was reading about, that when the slate like accidentally drops in the river and runs down, they go down and grab
Pick it
it.
up and bring
And
it.
they bring it back up and put it there because
That's
it's really
incredible.
important
Yeah,
to how their grapes develop. So,
Mhm.
I think that,
That's interesting.
mother is the, great, or whatever, what's that thing? The mother is the greatest invention person. that
yes.
Wants us to make
yes,
things work.
yes.
Hello, Otis. No, but I think that everywhere figures out
Yeah.
how to make it
yeah.
work.
I would say this, in terms of necessity is the mother of invention.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jeez.
But the thing that I think, this is arguable, but for me, and I do believe this, the kind of, let's say, distance from the equator, that, how hot or cold it is very important, but also the terrain is important. You need to have, for certain soils,
Yeah.
and you need to have inclines. You need to, so for example, you'll see that many of the great vineyards are on the sides of hills, because you need that water from the rain to run. You don't want it to puddle up
Right.
and kind of ruin the crops because there's too much water there. You need to have that runoff, and you need to have that a kind of rain water that kind of nourishes the vines but doesn't smother the vines. So a lot of times you'll see lots of great vineyards are on lakes, or so on rivers or lakes, and you've got an incline going down,
Mhm.
right?
And I would also suggest that possibly the wind currents,
Yeah,
as they move through,
Yeah.
because their patterns stay fairly
consistent. Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
And so you might find a place that you wouldn't typically think a grape was going to do well,
Yeah,
but because the wind that comes in goes through that area,
yeah.
then it works.
Mhm.
So,
And so, for example, when I lived so we lived in France and Italy and in Switzerland,
Mhm.
and Switzerland really can grow very well a couple of white wines, white grapes, whereas France, just a little bit over the border, can grow fantastic reds. And part of that is because of that access to the lakes and stuff, right? And
Mhm.
there's a great big lake at Lake Lemans in Geneva,
Mhm.
where you've got a lot of vineyards around there,
Mhm.
but it also gets very cold. Whereas you've got other lakes a little bit further south in France,
Mhm.
which keep that kind of warm, because you've got what we call the lake effect, right? In terms of weather, lakes can both keep things warmer than they should be because the heat is kind of contained, or they can make things a little bit colder.
Mhm.
So,
Any experience with Virginia wines at all? My sister lives in Virginia,
Okay.
so there's been vineyards there for a while, and they have some great breweries. They have some
Okay.
great distillers as well. They seem to do a lot of, when it comes to red, a lot of blends,
okay,
and have some good whites, a little
Yeah.
bit sweeter, but but also very good.
Really?
when I lived in DC, because I lived there for like 25-ish years, Bogle, I think,
Oh,
is a
BOGLE?
Virginia, yeah,
Uh-huh.
is a Virginia wine.
Really?
I want to say, could be Maryland, but I want to say it's Virginia.
Huh.
That was good.
mhm.
Now I have to, I could be completely wrong, so Google me, people, because I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Bogle was
But-
California.
Didn't
No.
start out that way.
All right, interesting.
And so, because I remember thinking, wow, this is from around here. That's
Huh.
kind of cool.
Mhm.
But
Cool.
other than that, I don't know.
Yeah. And I would say for me, I'd say a priori, but I don't know what other way to say that real quick. Before not having tasted it,
Mhm.
I would say Virginia for me would be that it's not in a geographic place where I would say they can take advantage of a whole lot.
Right.
Mhm.
They might be able to, I mean, there's certain, if you look at the states, the places, if you want wines from the states, you're gonna look at the West Coast,
Mhm.
Oregon, Washington, California, but mostly Oregon and California. On the East Coast, you're gonna look at New York,
Mhm.
and that's gonna be it.
So Virginia, she lives in the mountains in the Blue Ridge.
Okay,
So again, a little warmer, maybe too humid.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
the soil's good, it's
Yeah,
rocky.
and it's
Yeah.
rocky. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never had any Virginia wines. I mean, it could be great.
Mhm.
I would say if they're great, they should have a market,
Mhm.
right? So tell that person to either jump on board and push that market or, I don't know. I mean, Texas, I grew up in Texas, right? I'm a
Mhm.
Texas person. Texas was considered to be the next best, great place to grow wine. They did a huge,
Who knew?
oh, I know it. They said, look, if we're gonna look at one place in the States that has all the characteristics of the great regions, if you think about it, Texas, California is hot, Texas is hot.
Well, it is hot.
You
I'll
know,
give you that.
yeah, it is very hot. And they said Texas has not been able to take advantage of that. Texas went into the wine industry 100%, and they cannot.
It's probably too hot and too
It
dry.
probably is, yes. And the other thing is Texas doesn't, except for one area, called the hill, the hill country, which is around Austin.
Mhm.
They don't have those inclines.
Right.
If it's flat, you're just, it's not gonna work
Right.
as well. California can probably pull that off, but not many other places.
Have we talked about the cabin?
No,
No.
we're gonna talk about the cab now.
I
Sorry.
know, we're probably,
We're
This is
an
the
hour and
road show.
15.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry,
it's so
people.
great.
Let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's do this.
We're
Okay, so
good.
we
We
got
have
a
still a
cab.
lot of people.
We got a cab from California. It's Lindemans, actually. Now, Lindemans,
actually, it's from Australia.
yeah, Lindemans is Australia. So Lindemans is kind of, let's put it this way, Lindemans is seeing the light. They're saying, okay, California is a place to grow our grapes. So,
Kind of made me do the granny thing.
so cab, we've got a cab here. Well, first thing, we have some great legs on this thing. I've got that, yeah, we've got some great legs, so there's some alcohol, there's some
Yeah,
residual
you do
sugar.
have some really good ones, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I
thank
do.
you, thank you.
You're welcome. Takes, like an experienced person to.
In terms of nose,
I don't know if you can see that, probably not.
yeah, it's a nice
But
dark.
there's, you can see all these little lines running
Yeah.
down my glass.
Yeah, definitely mine, look at that. Woo,
Papa.
there you go. I would say in terms of nose, I would pick out some darker fruits, cherries.
Yes, cherries for sure.
Nice, there's not a whole lot of tannin in here,
Mm-mm.
which is, I like tannins, but I also sometimes like non-tannins in a wine. This has got a lot, like, again, you got California's gonna be a lot of fruit up front, less of the kind of tannic kind of characteristics. I like this. This is definitely like an Australian wine, right?
Yeah.
Australia's gonna go straight for the fruit.
And it does, I can taste like again, it's a bunch of fruit
Mhm.
got together and made babies, but it's like a strawberry, cherry.
Yep.
There's one more thing. Almost vanilla, which sounds wrong, but,
Mm-hmm.
or leather.
Well, definitely some leather. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What would you serve with this?
What
What
would I
would you-
serve with? Darn near anything. I mean, you could,
Yeah.
you could even have this because it is still, as Craig said, not as tannic as some other wines. So you could get away with a nice, like fatty fish,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
salmon or a halibut or something,
Right.
with this. But I would lamb,
Mm-hmm.
red sauce pastas, pizza,
Mhm.
really anything
Mhm.
would go with this. Definitely any of your red meats, any white meats. I mean, really, so pretty
Yeah.
much everything. I wouldn't probably do spicy foods because they would compete
Mhm.
with it. They wouldn't really complement one
Yeah.
another.
Mhm,
So, you know, I would not have Indian food with this.
mhm. Our Indian, I love Indian food.
I do too. I'm jonesing for it. big
I
time.
know, we need to go. I have a place. Anyway,
Oh, cool.
so white
Quad
wine,
cities?
Burlington.
Oh,
Ooh.
really?
Mhm.
Really?
All right. all right.
Yeah, well, any really on the Sauvignon Blancs, you know, any of the Chenin Blanc, a Chablis,
Yep.
Mhm.
any of those would go well. You could do a Pinot depending on how spicy it was, but you'd have to be kind of careful with that.
Mhm.
But I would probably tend towards a white
Yeah,
if I was gonna do Indian,
Mhm.
because,
you want that acidity
yeah, you do.
to cut
because
through that
it-
spice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
Okay.
the spices are, you know, really heavy
Yep.
on your palate,
Yeah.
and so you
And
know.
with, you've got like a red with a tannic, and then you're having two kind of different types of, I'll call it, aggressive things going on in your mouth at the
Right,
same time.
right, and then it's
Right.
no longer a party, it's just a, you know,
It's a brawl.
it's a brawl, and not what I want to be involved in.
All right, we have one last thing, if you're okay with that, that's the, I don't know if you want
So
to
do
do
you
it.
want chocolate report? Ooh,
Thank you.
yeah,
There you go.
Okay, we
Thank
got
you.
port coming up.
yum. And this is good, by the way, just so you know, and it's also another
Oh, yeah.
very reasonably priced.
Yep.
Cab.
Yep. Oh, yeah, very reasonably priced, yeah. Okay, so now port.
Hang on one second.
Oh, sure.
Not like my dad, I'm gonna try to move that right out of there, thank you.
All right. This is the, we're drinking the Donna Antonia 10-year port. So port, I'm assuming this comes from Portugal, because most
Mhm.
ports do. Yes, it does. So this is a 10-year Portugal port. Now, port, what happens with port and some other different, so port is a wine. And what you do with port, what happens with port, what makes it, why it's called port, is that the grapes are left on the vine for a longer time. And so it becomes, so what happens is, as grapes are left on the vine longer, the sugar increases, right? And sugar more sugar leads to more alcohol, but also leads to more sweetness. And I'm trying to,
I do like a good port.
yeah, ports are fun. Ports are fun. A port would be a great after you eat. You finish dinner on Thanksgiving, Christmas. You want to have a little something with your dessert. I think that's what
I know, and Jen
Yeah,
very
thank you for the
graciously gave
chocolates.
us some chocolates.
You have a little port with your dessert. I think you probably have a cab with some chocolates too.
You could.
Mhm.
But you know, this is just, I mean, for me, this is just like raisin heaven, right? Raisins. I mean, I love, and one thing I do a lot, I'll throw this out. I have no idea if anybody else does this. I love to eat raisins while I'm drinking wine.
Interesting.
Yes, and because I just tried this once, just on a, I don't know why I tried it, but I ate a few raisins. Because I was thinking, well, raisins, you know,
Yeah, right.
wine comes from raisins.
Right.
But what I found is raisins, especially with Cote de Roses, raisins will intensify whatever that kind of essential type of taste is in that wine.
Really?
Yeah, now I wouldn't do it with white wine unless maybe you're eating some white grapes,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But I just find regular, you know, sun-made grapes. I'll have those with a Merlot, with a Zinfandel, with a
I'm
Cab.
gonna try that.
Yeah, it's really fun. You just have a few of them, put them in your mouth, chew them up, and then drink some wine. And you can really, it really kind of intensifies whatever that flavor is. It's kind of cool. But here, you don't need that because those raisins are right there, right up front.
But in such a good way. My
Yeah.
mother hated raisins. I mean, she hated raisins.
Really?
So she wasn't like really excited about drinking port.
Mhm.
She liked it. You know, she was like, well, okay, so maybe I like these raisins.
Port is fun.
Yeah.
Port is a very fun drink. Again, I would say, when I was driving over here, I was trying to figure out, I had an idea, I had a kind of a thought, and I was like, kind of thinking about, because originally we thought about doing Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And I was thinking, well, what can we do besides the typical kind of stereotypical champagne for New Year's, right? I think port might be kind of a fun thing to kind of, definitely would be after Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. It'd be great. But I was thinking, in a way to kind of also kind of introduce into your New Year's festivities. That might be something kind of fun to kind of throw in there
Yeah,
as a way to kind of, because it's
soothing.
it is soothing. It's soothing, and it really has a.
It's a digestive too. It's,
Yep,
so it's kind of.
Yeah.
And there's usually a special glass for it, or can you use any glass?
You can use any glass, but you're right. Many people probably use a brandy glass for this, right?
Mhm.
You want to be able to kind of be able to swirl it and kind of warm it up a little bit. Just because it's got it's sweet, but it's also got that kind of it's got a kind of thickness to it that a lot of wines are going to have.
And you don't refrigerate it.
I would not.
Mm-mm. Okay.
No, I would not. And it'll pretty much last
Oh, for a while, yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. And it's the thing is, as an aperitif or aperitif, aperitif. This is, you can just sip this.
Yeah.
It's just, you can sip
This
this
is
a whole night
This is
long.
a really good, like, it's a cold winter's day, it's
Yeah.
snowing outside, you have the novel you've been waiting
Yeah.
for. And maybe some little chocolates by your
Yep.
side, and you have this, and this is
Yeah.
like the perfect day.
Yep. I completely agree.
All right. Any last comments for the alums before we wrap up?
Well, I hope that this has helped you kind of look at several different wines. And kind of help you kind of think about pairing those. Again, please go to Susan if you're, however that's gonna.
Yeah.
For the recipe.
So Jordan has put Susan's email in the
Email.
chat,
Perfect.
Okay, great.
and we are getting so many thank yous. You
Oh,
all.
Well, and I
Like,
would
they
like to say
just,
thank you.
yeah, I mean,
It was just fun for me.
so fun. Everyone loved it.
I wasn't quite sure what to expect, and so this has been fun,
Yeah, you're
honestly.
like the perfect rookie. You're great.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna hand it over to Jordan to wrap
Okay,
up, but
great.
thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have fun,
Perfect.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this evening. And for all of your commentary, your questions, and your good spirit. As Jen had mentioned earlier in the presentation, we do have a very first tartan tasting event. It is a charcuterie making event, virtual on December 13th at 6 p.m. It is on our website, so you're able to register at this time. It will be with Erica Hostens, a Galesburg native who has started her own business called Gather Custom Events and Creations. As a reminder, this event was recorded and will be posted on our website later on this week, and a survey will pop up on your browser once you close out of the event this evening. A huge thank you to Dr. Craig Vivian and Susan Twomey for leading our discussion tonight. And it is with my deep gratitude, and I wish that everyone has a delicious and very special and happy Thanksgiving. Everyone have a good night. Thank you.